We're up.
What's up, Internet World? It's the We Trine channel. Nerdy by Nature Productions. I'm Leroy. That's Michael. You don't have any hair. I mean,
Um,
I normally don't have any, but
yeah.
you typically have some. So why the clean look?
Well, my two phases of hair are all the hair or no hair, so it was time for no hair.
Okay, understand.
Yeah.
So,
I had to do a clean cut because I was talking to some kids. I say kids, some adults at University of South Carolina for some recruiting stuff.
uh,
So I couldn't be looking like a homeless bum in front of them.
huh, understandable,
Yeah.
understandable. Uh, well, what we talk about, man?
I don't know. This could be a grab bag or whatever. The fall of technology, AI sucks. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Um, Video games are going to hell in a handbasket. I don't know.
See, I have a different take on it, but let's start with your story first. Let's start with Epic Games.
Uh, Epic Games, the studio that could not fail, the studio that gives us Fortnite, the studio that everybody wants to emulate with their live service games, announced. Was it this week or last week? I think
This
last week
week.
sometime.
No, it was this
Um,
week.
thousand layoffs, thousand people losing their jobs. Part of a letter that the company CEO or founder,
Tim Sweeney.
um, yeah, Tim Sweeney sent out saying we're not making as much money as we're expending, so we got to cut people.
Um, so let's dive into this.
Hmm.
The layoffs happen. Um, some of the things that Tim Sweeney said in his memo uh, was layoffs are coming. He
Hmm.
did try to spin it that this is a roadmap re, to retool, but some of the things he did talk about that I thought was very interesting was he mentioned the two lawsuits. So if you remember, Epic sued Apple first and then Google. They sued them for the 30% cut that the platforms get off the top, and you weren't able to buy in-game items in their app. Everything you buy has to be through Google and Apple, because they take. I don't want to say like the mob, but Apple and Google get their 30, no matter what. I
Hmm.
believe in the. I'm trying to pull up the memo that he sent out because I believe the number that I heard reported was uh, they spent between the two lawsuits they spent $100 million. Um, so that's part of it. Part of and so also when they had these lawsuits, both Google and Apple removed them from the App Store to where if you wanted to download Fortnite, you had to go to Epic, you had to change some security settings so that you could down unrecognized apps. We all have seen the security settings and they tell you don't download apps that aren't from the App Store because they could potentially have viruses and stuff like that. So that was the punishment that Apple and Google met out. The Apple lawsuit was unsuccessful. The Google lawsuit was. So they had to work out a deal, and then they found out. Um, I think subsequently, Apple did some things, and they had to bring it back to the judge, where Apple was still like taking a cut. I forget exactly how all of this shook out, but Tim Sweeney said basically we lost about $100 million. That's on top of all the other things: downturn in the economy, people not playing games as much, not as many consoles being sold, which means you're not growing the gamers into the ecosystem. So yeah, not a good day. And this hits close to home for you because that's Epic is located in Cary, North Carolina, correct? And
Uh-huh.
that's 1,000 jobs in North Carolina in an economy that's already taken hits.
Yeah, I remember. seeing it because normally whenever we hear about game job losses in the gaming world, usually I'll see it on a site like a Polygon or IGN. But the first time I saw the article was on a traditional news site.
with like Raw, because that's where I
Uh,
saw
huh?
it. WRAL. I saw it there.
I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was Raleigh or another station, but a North Carolina news station. That's where I
Mhm.
first saw the news. But yeah,
So you tell me off when you heard this, what was your first thoughts?
first thought was like, man, I can't believe we're doing more job losses again. We need to figure out some sort of system because we're just losing so many jobs all the time. Eventually, when are we going to stop losing jobs? I don't know when that is. And then the second thing I thought was, this is not good for. Obviously, it's not good for the business, but it really isn't good for the video game industry because if Fortnite and Epic can't do it, I don't know how anybody else can. Everybody's trying to copy them and emulate them, and if they're not making enough money, which we can debate how much is enough money, but if they're not quote making enough money to make ends meet, I don't know how Marathon's going to do, or stuff like that, or even, I mean, will this sort of thing, same thing happen to Activision and Call of Duty? I don't know.
So I want to go back to that point that you just made because I think that that's where a lot of people are wondering or questioning. How much money is it that they're not making, and who is the money going to? Because I don't think a lot of people realize. Because this story is more of a all. This is a video game story, but it ties into Disney more so than a lot of people are paying attention to. Epic is owned by Tim Sweeney owns 60% of the shares. It's a private held company. His investors are Disney at less than 10%, Tencent at 40, and Sony comes in somewhere around 20%. I think
That's more than 100%.
that's more than hold on. So like I think, but those are the three major investors. So that's more than 100%. But I'm trying to figure out. I know Tim owns he owns controlling stake of the company. Tencent. You know what? Let me back up. Tencent, Sony, and Disney make up the 40%.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I said it wrong. So my question is it enough money for Tim and not enough money for the investors? Because here's the question: Disney invested 1.5 billion dollars into Epic. What 2 years ago?
Let's see. You keep talking. I'll look it up.
So my question is, who was calling these shots? So Disney's 1 point. So I'm
1.5 billion for a minority stake in Epic Games.
yep. So the minority stake was less than 10%. I think it's around 7%, and the rest of it's covered by Sony and Tencent. So that's where my question comes in. Who is calling? Did Tim make these cuts based on projections he's seen, or did Tim make these cuts based on the amount of money that they're not making from these for these investors?
I mean, the pessimist in me says the former for sure. Um, or sorry, the latter. But it's I don't know if we'll ever get a straight answer out of that unless some sort of another lawsuit comes out and it comes out in discovery or something. But everything it's the thing the old adage you always say, these companies are not your friends. They're here to make money.
Nope.
So yeah, it's just disheartening because you think of how many properties are intertwined with Fortnite, and it's still not able to make whatever type of lofty goal they're trying to reach in revenue. It's crazy.
Well, see, that's why I said I bring up some of the things that Tim said or has said in the past. Is it not making enough money, or is it have they mismanaged some of the money? Because I think too, one of the things that Microsoft believed when they bought Activision Blizzard was that this Epic lawsuit, which is why I find it interesting. A lot of people did not join Epic, and Epic asked for people to join on this lawsuit when they were suing Apple and Google.
Hmm.
Why Microsoft believed that the 30% and not being able to buy things through your app if it's on the App Store, Microsoft was counting on that for that this is an Xbox because you would be able to play Game Pass, but you could also be able to buy games through the app. And that's what Epic was counting on. But Apple pulled the nuclear option, was like, F it.
Hmm.
No Fortnite for everybody. No soup for you. And that to me is a blow that you can't, I think we can't discount. I think these layoffs are bad, but I also think, back to your point of, if they can't do it, no, who can? I think they had loftier goals than a marathon or a Helldivers or some of these other um, live service games had, because they were fighting the good fight, in quotation marks, the good fight, so that they could make more money. They miscalculated, won some of these fights, but it cost money to win these fights. And I think that they thought they would have more people on their side. And I honestly think Microsoft could have earned a lot of goodwill if they had broken up that 30% fee that developers have to pay to Apple and to Google. And Microsoft has the money for that. So I don't understand why they didn't do that, but I think that also is dragging down Epic, that estimated $100 million, and the revenue that they lost not being on the App Store. But I also think we're not gamers. People are not buying consoles, and that goes back to the story that you brought up earlier to me through when you texted me and Avery. If you need a PS5 Pro, you better buy it this weekend.
Well, any PS system, honestly, because they're all going up.
Yeah, I mean, all of them are going up, but that PS5 Pro, whoo,
$900 next
that's
week.
$1,000.
That's crazy.
Because it's what? It's $899, or is it no? It's $899. That's without tax,
Yeah.
and that's not even if you buy a game.
Yep.
That's just the system.
And and maybe most people don't. I'm curious what the attach rate is, but the PS5 Pro is digital, so you got to buy the the
The
disk
extra,
drive because I
if
had
you
I had to
have
buy a disk
games,
drive to go with my PS5 Pro.
that's what I said. I have to buy the disc drive, so I'm out $1,000
Yeah.
if you're not already all digital. So
Yeah.
I say that to say I think Epic looked at the trends and looked at it and said, "What's cheaper? How do we make this money back? How do we save this money?" And they were like, 1,000, y'all got to go. Now
Hmm.
they did give some of the employee, they did give the employees based on how long you worked there. They did give them severance, I think 4 months of pay, and there was extra severance based on how long you had been there. But that's 1,000 people who just lost their jobs this week.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
I'm curious. And one thing I don't know if anybody's ever really done, and I don't know how you do this, but with all these job losses, that's got to be tens of thousands of people who don't have jobs. So whatever happens to those people in terms of where do they find new jobs? Do they stay in the game industry? Do new studios get born? Are there just more and more people without jobs, making it even more difficult to find new jobs? And I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly or what I'm trying to
I
say.
think I think no, you did a good job. I think some of those people do find jobs in other gaming companies.
Hmm.
Tim even said that I think in one of his little things. Other companies um, are like this is a good thing for other companies. Um, I'm trying to see where. Oh man, where he's because he got so after this came out. So this was dropped March the 24th.
Okay.
After Tim Sweeney said this, I think he got online and was like kind of defending what he had to say and tried to explain some of the layoffs. And I'm trying to find it, but basically he was like, "This is a good thing for other companies because my Epic employees are the best, and you should hire them." And it's like,
They're the best that I didn't keep.
yeah. And so I do believe some of them probably went to other places, but to your point, if it's just 1,000 and the gaming industry was doing fine,
Hmm.
you could probably find a job. But if you're one of a 500 over here, 1,000 over here, you know, you're. I am interested. I do, and I don't know who tracks this for the technology, for the tech industry and gaming industry. That's a lot of people.
Hmm.
When we talk about how many people have been laid off in the last 3 years from just video games alone, and that's not even including the layoffs that we talked about. Was that 2 weeks ago? Where we tried to break down some of this Paramount Warner Brothers deal, where Paramount went took the angel of death through CBS and all their little networks. How many
Yeah.
people lost their jobs? And then with this Warner Brothers merger, with them acquiring Warner Brothers, how many of those redundancies we're going to see, and how many of those people are going to lose their jobs? So it's and we're not even to the AI portion of the show because we do know that there is, and that was some of the speculation too. How much of this is the money that they lost, and how much of this is that they figured out? Oh, we can use AI for some of this stuff.
I'm curious about that because I wonder.
Also,
Give me a
baseball
second.
season started. Go Red Sox.
Go Red Sox. Um, I wonder if a company's ever going to be straightforward and say, we cut these many people and we're using AI to do this, because I would like to know exactly how people are implementing AI in their everyday work structure to figure out what jobs they're replacing.
Well, we've seen in some companies, I think, was it Salesforce, um, are learning people don't trust them.
Hmm.
Hold on, let me pull up Salesforce AI trust. Um, but uh, I was looking at something online. But some of these companies that are really investing heavily in AI are seeing some of their business decline because people are finding out, oh, you're using AI, and they're not trusting your company
Hmm.
because they can't trust what you're saying. We've seen AI being used to replace some people, and just in our everyday life, if you go to Bojangles, a local fast food place here, if you go through the drive-through, they're using AI in the drive-through.
Yeah, yeah, to like see if they could how they could start your order and stuff. Yeah.
Hmm. And it has made people very angry to the point where I've heard, because it happened to me, where they'll turn it off because it'll go through the whole little system, the IVR or whatever, and it'll, would you like to add? And you have to keep saying no because it keeps trying to get you to buy something else to your order. And then the guy, when they hear you, because they can hear you in the store,
Hmm.
they'll hear your frustration and they'll just cut that thing off. And so other companies are starting to feel that. I do believe that there's some tone deaf person who is going to do that. I mean, we've seen the makers of AI be tone deaf, whether it be Peter Thiel, whether it be Sam Altman, who have said some pretty callous things. Um, I forget what the guy who owns Palantir, what he said, but I mean, those three have been in the news for some of the things that they said. I do not know if this is if the video game companies understand and realize. how much AI is looked at as a negative in this field so far.
I think they have to because there's too many.
I mean, look at the CEO of Nvidia. Look at what he said after his press conference or whatever. That was what, last week, 2 weeks ago, and he
Something like
was
that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, he was like, oh yeah, I don't like AI slop either, and people were like, bruh. So I do believe that there is a disconnect between the makers of AI, the implementers of AI, and the public at large. On top of the fact of that AI is signaling you may lose your job, or
Hmm.
people you care about may lose their job. Um, but one of the things I thought was interesting that also happened this week, or two things. One, let's move to the Disney portion of this. So Disney invested $1.5 billion into Epic for um,
Metaverse stuff and whatever, and
well, they Disney committed 1.5 billion for an equity stake in Epic in February 2024, with the goal of building a persistent games and entertainment universe spanning Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, Avatar, and more, all interoperating with Fortnite. So one of the things, I don't know if people realize, that Fortnite has all these different hubs within it, and Disney was trying to use their IP within Fortnite because there were so many people. The demographic was that skews younger was spending time in Fortnite. It's almost like Fortnite's almost not even a live service game anymore. It's almost a social media site.
hmm
So Disney was like, what if we were able to get our games, or also because they did no longer, Disney Interactive was shut down. What if we were able to use our characters instead of having games, making these games? They're still going to do what it Kingdom Hearts 37, whatever. They're still going to make some games. But what if we were able to integrate our IP into Fortnite? And Fortnite is probably thinking, and again, we don't know what all the partnerships for. I'm quite sure Fortnite's thinking they make theme parks.
hmm
What if this collaboration leads to Disney gets their characters in Fortnite, Fortnite gets its characters into Disney? Fortnite characters on Disney cruises, Fortnite characters in Disney in the park itself. What if there's an actual park within Disney that is Fortnite land? Um, that's where I think this is interesting, because something we talked about that everybody is seeing, they're not growing subscribers or customers
hmm
because there's so many different things vying for your attention. We just talked about video games, consoles. We're not selling as many consoles. Nintendo just cut back, what is it, 30%?
30%. Yeah.
Nintendo cut back 30% on the Switch too. So how do you grow new customers or new people, or and how do you keep the ones you have? You have to get them in other places. Disney, seeing that, says, okay, if we don't get people to the park, if we don't get them in our ecosystem, how else can we get them to buy into our IP? Fortnite. Fortnite seeing again, this cross pollination. I think Epic laying off these people is more of a Disney story, because they closed down a lot of different things. Was They closed down Fortnite, the racing part, Fortnite Ballistic. There's a couple other
You're
things.
just saying words now.
No, no, like, do you know what all they closed? Because they closed down a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, they closed like whatever the Fortnite racing thing is because that was also Psionics
Mm-hmm.
who did what's the racing game that they had or
It
still
was
have?
kind of like Rocket League.
Yeah, it's Rocket League. That's the one.
Yes. Um, so yeah, I that's why I think this is more of a Disney story because I think they're
Rocket
trying.
Racing, that's what it was.
Rocket
Rocket
Racing.
Racing is what they
Yeah,
closed down.
I think this is more of a Disney story because I think Epic is getting lean to focus more on the Disney stuff that they need because they dropped $1.5 billion in their lap, and I think going forward they need Fortnite to be leaner so that they can get these things done. Let's not focus on this stuff because that's not making the money and the resources that's necessary on top of the AI. And again, Sony and Tencent are the other stakeholders in this company and are like, hey,
Hmm.
so that's why I think Disney plays a very big part of this because the other story that dropped today, or not today, this week was Disney cancels $1 billion in OpenAI partnership amid Sora shutdown plans. So
What is Sora for the audience, Leroy?
Sora is a AI app that allowed you to make videos. And Disney signed a deal with them to allow Sora their what is it 200 Disney owned characters would be available for use in Sora's generated videos, and those videos would then be able to be used on those videos would be accessible on Disney Plus.
Hmm.
And that's why I said I think this more of a this is why I say the whole Disney through line is because one of the things we talked about with Warner Brothers and Paramount is those were two of the smallest streaming services. If they did not do something different, they were going to die and be sold for parts. Warner Brothers was literally trying to sell themselves for parts. These apps and these streaming services are not fighting with each other. That's not the biggest threat to them. The biggest threat is social media: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Google. The reason why those are the biggest things is because when you watch a show, you open the app because you're not watching traditional television unless it's sports. You open the app, you watch that show, and you close the app. Versus if you're YouTube or if you're Instagram, you're constantly streaming, looking at these bite-sized videos. Disney, I think, saw that and said, we need to leverage our characters, and we know AI is coming. Why not allow people on the Disney Plus app? And then make, and again, this is where I'm thinking all of this comes together. You have Epic on one side with Fortnite, Sora and OpenAI on the other side. You're constantly in the app. You're constantly streaming things. You keep the app open, which means you don't cut off your subscription to Disney.
So what you're saying is this is all Disney's fault.
I don't want to say it's all Disney's fault, but I do believe these streaming services are going to start trying to make these deals.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of these deals we're going to see because Disney and companies like this are investing in these companies and they're not seeing a return. And video games are going to suffer because that's where they think the money is, because they think that's where that 18 to 35 demographic is spending their time.
Hmm.
And that's why I think video games are going to suffer because video games are trying to get into Hollywood because they realize in order to get people to buy these games, we need to put our IP on other screens. Am I crazy or does that make sense?
No, I can see that. I mean, I think it goes back to the idea of mega corporations or whatever owning too much stuff. So all they can do, and I don't want to sound completely tin foil hat
Now
here.
come on over to the dark side.
Yeah, no, well, no. What I'm saying is, in a world where they have to continue to make money, like it's not enough just to continue to make the same amount of money every year, but to
Mhm.
increase every year. We are running into an issue of dwindling resources and dwindling everything. There's less and less time for you to play things or use your time however you want to use it. So I don't know what the end game is or what that looks like, but
World
it does.
domination.
Well, okay, sure.
I mean, if you're asking what the end game is, the end game is one app for everything. Amazon is trying to do it. Disney is trying to do it in a different way. Everybody is trying to do it in one way, shape, or form, and that's the end goal. Amazon. Think about Amazon and Amazon Prime. You don't have to have Amazon is like, hey, if you want to watch HBO Max, cool, click here.
Hmm.
You can watch it through our app. If you want to watch Apple, click here. You want to watch this show, click here. Amazon is trying to be the end all be all. They've bought pharmaceuticals so that you can do health through them. They bought Whole Foods, 2 day shipping, which is their big claim to fame, which is no longer 2 day shipping. That's what they're trying to do.
What do you mean no longer 2 day shipping?
Like they'll still do 2 day shipping, but then some of that stuff isn't really 2 day shipping anymore because they
Hmm.
try to force you to, hey, if you get it, save the earth. You want it
Sure.
all in one shipment? Do you really need it tomorrow?
Hmm.
Or hey, or they'll do this. We can send that shit tonight for $7.99 more.
Hmm.
So so you have Amazon doing that. You have Paramount gobbling up everything. Because remember, the Ellisons now own TikTok, Paramount. If this deal goes through, all of Warner Brothers Discovery. So that means they would own CNN, CBS. They would own one of the biggest social media platforms. TikTok has within its social media platform allowing you in app purchases because there's the TikTok shop. They're trying to do sports, live entertainment. So they're trying to be that one stop shop app for you because because here's the other thing. Have you noticed that YouTube is allowing you could pretty much watch a whole episode of a show through shorts?
I don't use it for that, so I did not know that.
But what I'm saying is you will see like clips of like Peaky Blinders, 911, all of that different stuff. If you own TikTok and you own a streaming service, you could potentially put clips of your shows on TikTok, which then allows people, if they have TikTok and Paramount or Paramount Plus, hey, you've been watching a lot of this.
Hmm.
Your algorithm then would direct you, why don't you watch the show over here?
Hmm.
That's what the end goal is. That's what everybody is trying to do. They're trying to be the one stop shop so that you keep staying on the app. So you keep scrolling. That's what the end game is.
Okay. Is there a solution to any of this?
Um, yeah, pirate everything.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I honestly that is part of the solution. Part of the solution is if it's on physical media needs to make a comeback, but also vote with your dollars. That is the biggest thing we have to start doing. We have to start holding these companies accountable by voting your dollars or your vote is your buying power. When you start, because have you ever heard the word enshittification?
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on.
Hmm.
Xbox just did it with Game Pass. Amazon's been doing it. We've seen it all over these different companies where they will muscle out everybody else in the competition, get you within their ecosystem for something that's cheap, and then slowly but surely nickel and dime you to death where you're like, wait a minute, I'm paying how much for this? And
Sure.
I'm getting less than when I was when it was free or when it was dirt cheap. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah. Um, Yes,
So here's my
this is a dour press play, folks.
not to honestly, it's not. To me, this is educational press play because I
Okay.
think a lot of people have not been paying attention to what's really been going on with these mega corporations, what they're doing, and how. Because I don't think people have been paying attention, or maybe they have. Maybe I'm, but we've started to notice more and more of our video games, people looking for, or companies looking for video game IP to turn into TV shows and movies.
Hmm.
Some are successful. If you're looking at movies, the Sonic franchise is pretty good. Super Mario, which I will be the first to say I did not think that was going to be good. I was like
A lot
Chris
of
Pratt.
people did not.
I was on
I
that.
was surprised.
Chris Pratt has done a pretty good job, um, but I do believe anybody could have done that role because I think it's the animation and the storytelling that did the heavy lifting. If you look at TV series, Fallout, Arcane, Last of Us, now we have coming down the pipe God of War, Horizon Zero, eventually a Gears of War movie, um, Assassin's Creed. All of the video games that you love are starting to go cross platform, cross media because that's another way to get that media out, to get more media, and also another way to get people back in the ecosphere playing these games because they see that movie or that show is pretty good.
So we talked about dwindling time and dwindling resources and how you spend your time. Is there anything these companies can do to get people back in? Is it just the idea of just promoting their stuff more to get them back
Make
in
it
the ecosystem?
make it fun and make it cheaper. Part of the reason why we're losing people buying consoles is because there's the life cycle of these video games to make these video games, how long it takes between making a game and then making a sequel or just making a game period is too long. It's too long and too expensive. And so you're not recouping a profit. Perfect example is Spider-Man 2.
The
Is it a
game.
the game?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say that. But the game itself, Spider-Man 2, did make enough money. It sold like gangbusters, but not enough to where they had to do layoffs.
Hmm.
And part of it was because everything had to be perfect. They had to max out everything that they could do on that system with Spider-Man 2. And that's not necessary. And shorter games, because I don't need to spend every game doesn't need to be 100 hours. Looking
Correct.
at you, Ubisoft.
Yeah. I've spent 40 hours so far on Outlaws, and I know I'm not close to being done.
Yeah, every game doesn't need to be 100 hours. Every game doesn't need to take 7 years. Shorten the window, make them less expensive, and also stop making them shitty when they first come out. We talked about Crimson Desert last week. That was last week, right?
Hmm.
And I said, this is the game that's going to have this huge divide between the people who rate games and the people who play games. They have already added a patch that has improved on a lot of the things people complained about. The game is up to what, 3 million copies?
At least, yeah.
And what happened to the stock after that patch dropped?
Did it go up? I don't know.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Hold on, I'll pull up the ad or the article. Here we go from IGN. Investors are having a whoopsie moment after 3 million sales. Shares in Crimson Desert dev Pearl Abyss skyrocket. Yesterday, this is from Wesley Yin Poll on March 25th. Um, Yesterday, Pearl Abyss announced Crimson Desert had sold an impressive 3 million copies in just 5 days. The open world action game launched on March 19th and sold 2 million copies in a day, with an additional 1 million copies sold in the subsequent 4 days. An impressive sales return, but things were looking a little shaky when Crimson Desert came out. Crimson Desert launched big on Steam with nearly 250 concurrent players, but was met with mixed user review ratings on Valve's platform.
Hmm.
So now those reviews are up. Skipping down into the article, Pearl Abyss saw its stock price plunge nearly 30% in what was seen as a reaction to review scores from critics. A day after launch, the company's stock fell a further 9.78 despite the big launch sales. According to Korean business press, Pearl Abyss reportedly spent 7 years making Crimson Desert, with the development costs coming in at 200 million won, approximately 133 million. However, Crimson Desert Steam reviews are improving, moving up from mixed to mostly positive. English reviewers are now up to very positive. The Crimson Desert Metascore is 78 with the user score at 8.1. So that's kind of a mixed bag. Yes, that game took a long time to make, took 7 years, $133 million. The reviewers, well, they had some issues with the game, but the people who were excited about the game enjoyed the game. Sold 3 million copies in 5 days because the game is fun.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that I think some of these game designers need to take from this lesson. Worry about making the game fun. Then if you want to do live service or multiplayer, tack that shit on later. Don't worry about microtransactions right now. Make the game fun. If you make the game fun and you're smart about it, you'll make some money. Now this goes back to your point. How much money, Michael?
That's the age old question. How much money indeed?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Leroy, let's wrap this up because I'm about to fall asleep.
Get your weight up, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's Disney's fault.
I feel like I said that earlier.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Okay, cool.
I mean, in all, I'd say pay attention to what's going on. Read the news. If you care about this, start paying attention because this stuff will affect you. And we hadn't even gotten to how much of this is due to the global shipping being disrupted because you got to avoid an entire part of the world right now.
Hmm.
Oil prices going sky high. We hadn't even talked about that, but all of that plays a part in these stories. Um, so yeah, kind of a crappy day, but also I think educational because now you get to see, okay, is this worth me buying? Is this worth me paying $900 for this system? Is it worth me buying this game? Is it worth me supporting this company who did this thing and keeps laying off people? Vote with your dollars, people. Start paying attention. Billionaires and companies are not your friend.
There we go. Get that
Who
on the
got?
shirt.
Ooh, we should start
Yeah.
selling merch.
If
Billionaires and companies are not your friend.
if only. Folks, that's Leroy and Michael. You know where to find us.
Hey,
Later for next production.
what got you through the week?
We're coming through the week. Uh Still playing Outlaws. I just got the text message on my phone saying For All Mankind season 5 just started.
Yep.
I'm excited about that.
It's your boy 80 years old in that show.
At this point, he has to be. I'd assume so. The way they
I, s-
go.
I saw an article about that. The oldest character is 80 years old and he's still cool.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. Um, but I'll be watching that. Am I watching anything else?
Paradise?
I think season finale of season 2 is what this week coming.
Mhm. Monday.
So then I'll probably finally Wendy and I will probably start watching that.
Oh, you hadn't even started yet?
No, because I want to binge it all.
Oh, that's
That's
not a
the
good
end of
idea.
season 2.
That's not
Um,
that's not a good idea. And
Daredevil season 2 has started.
if you guys are watching Paradise, you know why I said that's not a good idea. Have you been watching Daredevil? Did you get the first episode?
Nope, not yet. Sir, I got to save a galaxy far, far away. So
No, you don't, because you're not saving the galaxy. You're trying to rob people.
I mean, I got to save myself in the galaxy.
You're trying you're trying to save yourself.
Yeah, in a galaxy far, far away. That's
Trying to
fine.
make those credits, son.
Well, I do what I can. What got you through the week?
I've been watching Paradise. Me and my wife, we were watching Hacks. Hacks is okay. I'm glad that I'm not watching it week to week because I think the episodes are not enough if I watched it week to week. Um, she's watching The Pit and loving it, and I'm like, why do I see this gross thing on my TV when I look up from my book?
Mhm.
So Paradise, Hacks. Uh, what was I watching? I was watching something. I was watching a show. Oh, I burned through Slow Horses, the last season, and then I'm trying to decide what I'm gonna watch next. But also comics and graphic novels. Um, support your library, kids.
Cool.
Take your ass down there. All right.
Support your library. Take your ass down there. You heard them.
Yep. All right, people.
People. Tell them.
We out.
We out.